White House standing by and defending their dystopian disinformation board after a huge uproar. Republicans say it would lead to a big government crackdown on free speech. Biden's DHS secretary insisting this was all some big understanding.
There's no question, Brett, that we could have done a better job in communicating what it does. Our work does not infringe on free speech.
Okay, so
does not infringe on civil rights, civil liberties. It's not about speech.
Well,
it's about the connectivity to violence.
Wow. Mayorkas also defended the Hunter Biden laptop-denying Mary Poppins impersonator that they hired to run it.
I don't question her objectivity. There are people in the department who have a diverse range of views, and they're incredibly dedicated to mission. We're not the opinion police. She has testified before Congress a number of times. She's recognized as a tremendous authority, and we're very fortunate to have her.
Recognized as a tremendous authority. I'm going to let that one go. But, Jessica, I want to bring this to you first. You know, I mentioned it in my last answer in the A block. With short of 6 months of the midterms, right after Elon Musk decides he's going to buy Twitter, right when crime is going through the roof, we decide that we need, or they decide they need, a disinformation board. And it's not really about freedom of speech, according to Mayorkas. It's about connectivity. What is he talking about? Do you know?
I can only go with what he's told us.
What did he tell us? Because I can't figure it out.
He told us that American citizens are not going to be targeted, that it's not about what we're putting on social media, which is important. And he acknowledged the fact that they did a very poor job at rolling this out, and something that's been brewing actually for months. And it was interesting.
Allegedly.
Well, in
Allegedly.
today's press briefing, Jen Psaki answered Peter Doocy about this. And okay, well, I could just stop talking. Just let me get through it, and then you can say allegedly.
Oh.
But Peter Doocy asked about this, and Jen Psaki said actually that they were continuing work that started under the Trump administration, which I thought was very interesting. But one thing that people don't do when they're in office is they don't try to get in front of a narrative based on what they know the other side is going to say. And it's pretty easy to do. Just tune in to a political commentator on the left and the right, and you will know the response within 20 minutes of a news cycle. Why didn't they do that? You would know exactly what people would say. Why did this happen when Elon Musk took over for Twitter? Why is this woman on TikTok? Is this a serious person? Is this someone that deserves this kind of job? And then you could have given that interview that he gave this weekend in advance of this, and we'd all be in a lot of a better position.
So are you saying that you don't quite understand it either?
I said a lot more than that. I would like more information about what it is, but I am relieved to hear that this is not about targeting individual American citizens for whatever they're putting out there on social media. That was the big concern last week.
Okay. Do you believe that this has nothing to do with free speech, Greg? Ministry of
I think it
Truth?
has to do with competition. They don't like their freedom of speech to have any competition. They think, I believe that they see speech as a zero-sum game. Like if Joey has more speech, then that means, I don't know, somebody at MSNBC has less speech. That's the way they see it. That's why it's wrong. This hysteria is continuing because I think the legacy media, like CNN, know that it's not too far off from being dead. They are so close. They're watching their numbers decline, and every time there's a threat, they go crazy. But by the way, it didn't start with Musk. I would go back and start. It started with Fox News. When Fox News first came out, they were attacked, and we still are attacked every day. Then I'd say you'd go after Joe Rogan. Remember, it was just like 4 months ago? It was all Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan. And then there was Substack. All of these independent thinkers leaving the Democrats. You know, whether it was Matt Taibbi, I don't know if they were, or Glenn Greenwald, but they all go to sub, then they get attacked. Now it's Musk. So every reaction you see is the same. They fear speech because it competes with theirs. By the way, Mayorkas ended that thing saying, like, we're just looking at speech as its connectivity to violence. Well, let's not forget, CNN was the one that was defending Antifa, remember? Mm-hmm. You know, Antifa means anti-fascist, and like, show me in the Constitution where it says you can't be whatever Cuomo said. But during the riots, there were plenty of people in the media that were defending that, right? And saying it's a form of justice. So I'd be interested to see if they actually will connect it to violence.
Well, you know, one of the things, Dana, that the Wall Street Journal talked about in their editorial, they said refereeing political debate is not the government's job.
No. And that's, again, they did a terrible job of explaining what this is supposed to be. Like, so it's a board, but who's on the board? And who created the board? And who's going to pay for the board? Because Congress controls the purse strings. And so do you have the actual authority to create this board? And when they say that Americans are not going to be targeted, but how do you know that the fake information that you're trying to dispel didn't come from somebody's basement in Colorado? Like, well, if that's the case, then of course you're going to have to go after that information. Right. So they did a terrible job with it. Plus, they did a real disservice to her, Jankowicz, because these people are supposed to be in charge of vetting personnel. It took 1 second for us to find her videos on TikTok. It's not hard to understand.
Her singing isn't even the worst part. It's her actual beliefs.
Yes. Yes. And so now they have basically put her in a position of being dragged all the way through this. The people are worried. I actually think that this is something that really struck a chord with people. A lot of other things maybe just kind of blow by, but this one is really sticking. The thing that they never answered is this question is, what is the problem you're trying to solve? Just tell us, what is the problem you're trying to solve? Let's define it. Let's look at it. And let's make sure that Congress actually has the authority. You have the authority from Congress in order to do it, because that's how the system works. I actually think this board is not going to exist, and she is not going to be in charge of anything.
He actually said they had no authority. He admitted it.
But I think one of the issues, Joey, is the fact that they haven't indicated what the sanction is. And if they give it a name, the Disinformation Board, that tells me that they're going to tell us when the information is incorrect. So what was true yesterday may not be true tomorrow. For example, with COVID. If you get the vaccine, you're not going to get COVID. Or if you wear the mask, you're going to be protected. Well, now they're saying you don't even need to wear the mask. You know, what's true today may not necessarily be true tomorrow. Yeah. Why are they getting involved in this?
Well, he said we're not the opinion police. No, they're trying to be the facts police. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to tell us what is or isn't true and call it a fact so that we don't question it. I'm really not all that appalled by this, and not to say that I appreciate it or want it to exist, but in my opinion, they're just codifying what already happens. So now we have a face and a voice and a name to put with it. We know who's doing it and who's behind it, kind of thing. You can't tell me that the Twitter suspension of the New York Post didn't have back channel communication. If not, this is the best form of hive mind that we've ever seen. Listen, and you know, not to say people are married to people that work in the White House and work at different media groups and work within people's offices. These narratives circulate. It just happens to be that 80% of media is involved in the one that the current White House is involved in. And so they're going to back something like this. I think really what it comes down to is now they're so worried about being able to control a narrative or push a narrative out, and they've been really ineffective at it, just as a White House. This is just the next step in that, and maybe it gives cover to the media outlets who are very obviously, up until now, carrying their water. And now they're starting to not carry their water so much.
All right.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
There is another connection to this board and to Elon Musk, in the sense that when you ask what was the board for, well, all of this kind of stemmed from the idea of white supremacy, that there was this domestic terror movement going on, which they have yet to figure out. And you find out, you know, that FBI informants, whatever. Now you have liberals, especially on MSNBC, Mehdi Hasan, saying, like, you know, free speech. What Musk is doing is allowing for neo-Nazism and white supremacy. So now free speech is being redefined as some kind of element of white supremacy.
That's the connectivity. They're going to create a connectivity, so now you are trained in their narrative.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.